Welcome to Screen Hollywood, the home of movie news and entertainment. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
It all started with one photograph, a strange image. Yellow walls, old office carpet, buzzing fluorescent lights. What if this place actually exists? And somehow, one random photograph became one of the biggest internet myths of the modern era. Genuinely feels like stepping inside the nightmare millions of people had imagined for years. It slowly gets under your skin. Every corridor feels wrong. Every room feels familiar, yet completely alien. You feel lost. For years, horror fans have been asking the same question. Where has all the originality gone? It seems like every few months, Hollywood serves up another predictable possession movie, another haunted house, another masked killer, another sequel, another reboot, another film that's been focus grouped into oblivion before a single frame has even been shot. The jump scares are predictable, the stories are safe, the characters make stupid decisions because the script demands it. And somewhere along the way, Hollywood forgot that genuine fear doesn't come from loud noises. It comes from uncertainty. It comes from atmosphere. It comes from making your audience feel uncomfortable long before anything terrifying actually happens. Then, along came the Backrooms, and I genuinely don't think anybody was prepared for just how extraordinary this film would turn out to be. Now, I'll admit it, I went into this movie expecting something reasonably entertaining. Maybe a decent adaptation of a popular internet phenomenon. Maybe a solid psychological thriller. What I absolutely wasn't expecting was one of the most creative horror films we've seen in years. This wasn't simply another horror movie. This felt like a filmmaker arriving and announcing, "Move over, I'm here now." Because that's exactly what Kane Parsons has done. Let's just stop for a second and appreciate how ridiculous this story actually is. This wasn't an established Hollywood director. This wasn't somebody who'd spent 20 years climbing the studio ladder. This wasn't someone handed the keys to a franchise because of industry connections. This was a young filmmaker who started making Backrooms videos on YouTube. Videos that exploded across the internet because they captured something almost impossible to explain. An emotion, a feeling, an atmosphere. Those videos became a cultural phenomenon, eventually attracting millions of viewers before A24 took notice and gave Parsons the opportunity to transform his unsettling vision into a full-length feature film. At just 20 years old, he became one of the youngest directors ever to helm a major studio feature, a remarkable leap from YouTube creator to theatrical filmmaker. And what makes this story even better is that he actually delivered. Hollywood has spent years convincing us that massive budgets automatically equal quality. The Backrooms completely destroys that argument, because creativity will always beat excess. This film doesn't rely on explosions. It doesn't rely on endless CGI monsters. It doesn't rely on 20 fake jump scares every 5 minutes. Instead, it trusts its audience. And that's something modern horror has forgotten how to do. One of the biggest compliments I can give this film is that it never feels like it's trying too hard. Modern horror often screams at you, "Look, here's another jump scare. Here's another disturbing image. Here's another shocking death." The Backrooms doesn't need any of that. It whispers. It slowly gets under your skin. Every corridor feels wrong. Every room feels familiar, yet completely alien. You feel lost. You feel isolated. You feel trapped. And before you've even realized what's happening, you're already anxious. That's masterful filmmaking. What really impressed me was the cinematography. Every frame feels carefully constructed. There's an incredible understanding of scale, silence, negative space, lighting. The camera isn't simply recording events, it's making you feel like you've wandered somewhere you were never supposed to be. That's incredibly difficult to achieve, because horror isn't just about what you show, it's about what you don't show. And then there's the pacing. This is where I think The Backrooms separates itself from so many horror movies released over the past decade. The tension feels organic, natural. Nothing feels forced. Nothing feels manufactured. The film allows scenes to breathe. It understands that suspense isn't something you can rush. Instead of bombarding the audience with constant scares, it slowly tightens the screws until you're sitting there wondering, what exactly is about to happen? And because the film refuses to follow predictable Hollywood formulas, you genuinely don't know. That unpredictability is priceless. The terror itself almost feels like experiencing a fever dream. You know those nightmares where everything seems familiar, but none of it makes sense? Where your surroundings feel slightly wrong? Where every hallway somehow leads somewhere even more unsettling? That's exactly what this movie captures. It's psychological, it's surreal, it's deeply uncomfortable, and it's absolutely brilliant. What impressed me most was the confidence. For someone directing his first feature, this doesn't feel like a debut. It feels like a filmmaker completely in control of his vision. There's restraint, there's discipline, there's patience. Every decision feels intentional. That's incredibly rare. Hollywood should be paying attention, because audiences are clearly hungry for original ideas again. The incredible success of the Backrooms demonstrates that viewers are willing to embrace fresh concepts when they're executed with confidence. The film's strong theatrical performance has also sparked immediate discussions about expanding the franchise, proving that originality can still become a commercial success when audiences connect with it. Studios have become obsessed with intellectual property, sequels, spin-offs, remakes, shared universes. Meanwhile, a young filmmaker comes along with an idea that genuinely feels different, and audiences respond. Imagine that. Originality still matters. And that's why I think The Backrooms is more important than people realize. This isn't simply another successful horror movie. This is proof that audiences haven't become impossible to please. They've just become tired of being served the same meal over and over again. The Backrooms reminded people what genuine suspense feels like, what genuine mystery feels like, what genuine cinematic atmosphere feels like. Hollywood desperately needed this wake-up call. And honestly, it's about damn time. So, where does The Backrooms go from here? Honestly, the possibilities are almost endless. And that's exactly why I cannot wait for The Backrooms 2. Normally, when Hollywood announces a sequel just weeks after a successful release, I roll my eyes. You know what's coming. The budget gets bigger, the explosions get louder, the studio executives interfere, the mystery disappears, and the sequel completely misunderstands why the original worked in the first place. Thankfully, I don't think that's going to happen here. Because this franchise is still being guided by the one person who understands it better than anybody else, Kane Parsons. And I genuinely believe that's the biggest reason to be excited. One of the reasons The Backrooms connected with audiences so powerfully is because the mythology already existed long before Hollywood became involved. If you've spent any time on the internet over the last decade, you've almost certainly stumbled across it. It all started with one photograph, a strange image, yellow walls, old office carpet, buzzing fluorescent lights. No windows, no furniture, no explanation, just an empty room. Somebody uploaded it online. Nobody knew where it was. Nobody knew whether it was real. And that's when something extraordinary happened. The internet did what the internet does best. People started imagining. Stories appeared, videos appeared, artwork appeared, games appeared. Entire communities formed around one simple question: what if this place actually exists? And somehow, one random photograph became one of the biggest internet myths of the modern era. For years, people debated whether the Backrooms could actually exist. Some treated it as a creepypasta. Others treated it like urban folklore. Some even claimed they'd experienced dreams that looked eerily similar. That uncertainty became part of the legend. Nobody owned the mythology. Everybody added to it. It evolved naturally, almost like modern campfire stories. And that's fascinating. Because in an age where almost everything online is manufactured, the Backrooms felt organic. It belonged to everyone. Here's where I think Kane Parsons deserves enormous credit. He clearly understood something many Hollywood adaptations completely miss. He didn't simply adapt the imagery, he understood the feeling. That's the difference. Countless studios have adapted books, games, comic books, and internet properties only to completely misunderstand why audiences loved them in the first place. They copy the surface. they forget the soul. The Backrooms never falls into that trap. Watching this film genuinely feels like stepping inside the nightmare millions of people had imagined for years. It respects the mythology. It expands the mythology, but it never destroys the mystery. That's incredibly difficult to do, because once you explain too much, the fear disappears. Sometimes the unknown is infinitely more terrifying than the monster itself, and thankfully, this film understands that perfectly. I honestly hope studio executives are paying attention, because The Backrooms proves something I've believed for years. Audiences aren't tired of horror. They're tired of lazy horror. There's a huge difference. People still want to be scared. They still want suspense. They still want unforgettable cinematic experiences. What they don't want is another movie assembled by committee. Another predictable haunted house. Another forgettable demon. Another sequel nobody asked for. The Backrooms succeeds because it doesn't feel manufactured. It feels personal. It feels like one filmmaker had a vision and refused to compromise it. That's becoming increasingly rare in modern Hollywood. Now we know a sequel is officially moving forward, and that's fantastic news for horror fans. Early reports suggest Kane Parsons will return to direct, while A24 and the creative team continue developing the next chapter of the story. Rather than rushing out a follow-up, the filmmakers appear committed to expanding the mythology carefully instead of simply repeating what worked the first time. And honestly, that's exactly the approach they should take. Don't make it bigger just for the sake of being bigger. Make it stranger. Make it more psychologically unsettling. Take us deeper. Introduce new layers to the mythology. Show us places we've never imagined before. The Backrooms has limitless storytelling potential. Every corridor could lead somewhere completely different. Every level could have its own terrifying rules. Every doorway could reveal something audiences never expected. That's a storyteller's dream. Let's talk about Kane Parsons for a moment, because I think Hollywood has just discovered one of its most exciting young directors. Think about what he's achieved. He took an internet phenomenon, turned it into a cinematic experience, won over critics, won over audiences, and proved that originality can still sell tickets. That's an extraordinary achievement, especially for someone so early in their career. Studios spend years searching for filmmakers with distinctive voices. Kane Parsons already has one. You know when you're watching one of his creations. That's incredibly valuable. And I honestly believe this is only the beginning. Whether he stays with the Backrooms for years, or eventually moves into science fiction, psychological thrillers, or completely original horror concepts, I'll be watching. Because filmmakers with this level of imagination don't come along very often. The Backrooms isn't just one of the best horror films of the year. For me, it's one of the most important. Not because it reinvented every rule, but because it reminded Hollywood what audiences have been asking for all along. Originality, patience, atmosphere, confidence. Filmmakers who trust viewers to think. Stories that don't rely on endless, cheap jump scares. This movie understands something that too many modern horror films have forgotten. Fear isn't about making audiences jump. Fear is about making audiences dread what's coming next. And The Backrooms absolutely nails that. Walking out of the cinema, I genuinely felt like I'd watched something different, something memorable, something that might actually influence the next generation of horror filmmakers. That's not something I get to say very often anymore. So those are my thoughts. But now I want to hear yours. Did The Backrooms completely exceed your expectations? Do you think Kane Parsons has just announced himself as one of Hollywood's most exciting new directors? And what do you want to see explored in The Backrooms too? Let me know down in the comments because I genuinely love to hear your theories. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more original movie reviews, Hollywood news, box office analysis, and entertainment discussions here on Screen Hollywood. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep watching great movies, and maybe avoid any strange yellow corridors.